So, we've hit the big 5-0. I believe a special is in order. This was a really hard list to make, at least for me. Indie games are a touchy subject. I have a lot of thoughts and opinions on them that makes me very particular about which ones I consider fun and or interesting. What doesn't help in the matter is how much I feel that indie games are treated as a dime a dozen. They're very hot when they are released, but then immediately fizzle out of the minds of players. I want to approach this with all the respect I can for these games, with none of that Jonathan Blow, Phil Fisher, Mighty Number 9 bullshit that felt like major blows to these amazing games. And to get you guys to check them out, or to check them out again if you played them already, I've enlisted the help of my friends to bring you this.
Hello everyone, my name's Corbiter. I'm one of the co-hosts on the stream.
I'm Gary Ziegler, and you just got a double kill.
Hi, It's the Royal Jester, and I'm the one who stole your double kill.
You bitch!
Yo, what's up? It's Johnny Galaxy.
Hello. My name is Mud, with 2 Ds. M-U-D-D. Don't ask where I got that name. Anyways.
Welcome everybody to my top 10 favorite indie games.
50 subscriber special, yeah!
Awesome. It says a lot when I put a roguelike on this list. I don't particularly care for them, but I can make an exception for this game. Death Road to Canada is just pure fun. The whole point of the game is to get from Florida, of all places, to Canada to survive a zombie apocalypse. Well, the gameplay is very simple, involving a sort of Oregon Trail choice system, which can lead to great success, or hard, painful failure for when you're on the road, and a simple dungeon-crawling action game for when you need to run out to locations and gather supplies for your zombie survival road trip, which, once again, depending on factors and your skill, can end up in either great success or glorious, bloody failure. Plus, the soundtrack is killer, with a ton of upbeat tunes that change depending on your current status. One of my favorites in particular is Rigor Mortis Rag. One of the best aspects of the game is the character customizer. While it's not incredibly deep, you can actually make some surprisingly fun characters with it. Each character can have one trait and one class, bringing their own upsides and downsides. You can unlock even more traits and classes as you play, with the Zombo points you earn by playing. The game also boasts several game modes that can make the game easier, harder, or weirder depending on what you choose. There's also a ton of Easter eggs in the game, such as Dale Gribble's Bugabago, Jason Voorhees, a clown, dogmen, and horse! These Easter eggs can even be tweaked by a game mode to appear more often. It's really fun to try to make your friends and try to survive this deadly road trip to Canada. And failure only emboldens you to try and continue to reach your goal. Or until you get a cursed save file, such as being alone with a clown and horse and a musical ice cream truck, and just have it sit there, gathering dust because it's such an enigma you don't want to lose it. But what the hell? Check out this game, I can assure you, you'll have a good time.
Come along with me and let's discover the endless possibilities of space. Starbound is a beautiful space exploration survival game, where you can play up to 7 races as a cosmic horror poses a threat to the Earth and the galaxy as a whole. The gameplay does feel a little similar to Terraria, but that's only in exploration, as it's more or less a platformer with an open world and tons of planets to explore and find resources, as well as equipment to loot and whatnot. What sets Starbound apart from other survival-type games is that you can turn off these survival aspects in order to give yourself a more casual experience, basically turning it into a open galaxy loot and shoot. The progression of technology doesn't always play out as a usual survival game. However, you can make certain equipment depending on which species you play as, and the looting aspect can completely forgo making your own equipment in favor of grabbing whatever weapons drop from containers or enemies. As you progress, you can upgrade your ship to make it bigger, which, while it doesn't really do anything on the surface, it does allow you to gather up crew members from random settlements across the cosmos, which you can also bring along planetside, as well as inviting a friend along for multiplayer. Every race has their own ship with an adorable little pet. Some really cool ones in particular are the human ship, which resembles a hammerhead cruiser from Knights of the Old Republic, the Nova Kids, which resembles a steam train for their rootin' tootin' cowboy theme, and the avian ship looking similar to the Chozo Tech from Metroid. Some planets even have their own dungeon or mini-dungeon which you can explore, as well as a unique boss, which include their own weapon and items for you to acquire. Hell, you can even unlock a mech to go completely Gundam with upgradable weapons to use against your enemies, in both space and planetside combat. This game is so addicting to play, and features a ton of unique mods that expand on the already vast universe by just adding equipment and mechanics to make the experience even better. Whether you're catching a creature with a ball like a true Pokemon master, or building a colony and a crew to go off on a cosmic treasure hunt, Starbound is one addicting game. And god damn do I sound like a video game ad with this one. Anyway, next entry.
Oh boy, this is one behemoth of a game. Castle Crashers was one of the best games from the old 360 and PS3 games. It was very, very nostalgic. Trying to gather all the animal orbs and weapons was one of the best ways to spend an afternoon when this game was first released, and it was a grand adventure with friends. The simple gameplay of just smashing and slashing everything is surprisingly addicting, and every time you finish the story, you unlocked a new character to play, each of which have their magic to use, as well as the light RPG level up mechanics, giving you some freedom in how you play your character with specialization in anything but attack power and a tactic to level up quickly. This game used to have a lot of DLC, but the more recent editions of the game leave only 2 characters as DLC downloads, and another depending on if you own the Behemoth's other game, Battleblock Theater, having which would unlock Hattie Haddington. Even so, Pink Knight is the best knight with his magical abilities of rainbows, penguins, gummy bears, and super happy weasels. One of the best bosses in this game even uses one of the conceptual art by Tom Fulp, one of the creators. Way to reuse assets for the better. It even is loaded with a ton of classic Newgrounds references. This game likes to clown you too, with not 1, but 2 appearances of Tricky the Clown. Look at this clown! Fuck this clown! Anyway, there's something magical about trying to collect everything in this game. There's even a hard mode unlocked for every character after finishing the game, with even more rewards to claim from the stores. You better cash into the nearest store and stock up on potions because the bosses are one of the best parts. We have Ice King, Cyclops, Painter, Killer Cord, a 2-headed fire-breathing dragon, Necromancer, a literal catfish, and Volcano. You fight a volcano with big muscle men. The JoJo is strong in this one. There's also a ton of other side content, such as arenas where you fight an enemy gauntlet to unlock even more characters, or face off with your friends for funsies. A volleyball game at the end of the sandcastle, all you can quaff, a race to see which one of your friends has the biggest chungus and scarf down the most food. And Back Off Barbarian, which is essentially a keep-away style game setup, like a board game, where you have to get away from the enemy that chases you by pressing the right buttons to move to a different space on the board. This mode gives you so many close calls, so gather your friends, stock up on potions, bombs, and beefy sandwiches, and set off to some classic beat-em-up action. And don't forget to go left on the alien ship for a surprise. This is Watch Mojo.
This is one of the most beautiful indie games ever made, and the personal favorite game of the reader. Bastion is a top-down action RPG set in an apocalyptic world, which has been literally torn to shreds. Don't worry though, these pathways reform at your feet as you move through levels to try and empower the titular Bastion, which was to protect everyone in case such an event were to happen. The only problem is, no one except one other person made it. The game captures how desolate of a world it is, with how empty it is. Don't worry, there still are tons of enemies to fight, but you rarely ever encounter another human, which isn't a statue of ash that crumbles at the slightest hit. While all the automated beings and creatures that were used in society still linger on and fight for survival. The prizes you seek are shards, which will activate more portions of the Bastion and let you upgrade your little slice of sanctuary. It's up to you and a very small group of survivors you find on the journey through this destroyed world to end up saving it. While gathering these shards, you will find out that they are what hold together the areas you explore. And when they're removed, it causes the section of world to collapse back into the void, like the rest of the world before it. Even in this new world of destruction, and remains of conflict from the previous time still linger on and become another adversary for the survival of the Bastion. The game also features many weapons, which can be used to create some unique arsenals, and each weapon, especially the ranged ones, having differing mechanics that can be fun to play around with. From fast ones to slow ones to the rootin' ones, I'm sure you're going to find something you like. When the Bastion is upgraded, you can choose many different buildings to control the progression system. For example, the distillery is how you attune perks from level ups that can have both positive and sometimes negative effects to control your experience. The Arsenal and Forge are self-explanatory as they allow you to choose and upgrade your weapons. The Lost and Found is where you can buy materials you've missed throughout the levels. And the Memorial, which is essentially a challenge board which rewards you in money and upgrade materials on just the right occasion. The shrine is actually a pretty unique system which lets you customize the difficulty to your liking. You can use these to invoke power to your enemies or apply curses to yourself for more experience and a greater challenge. The game even features a few arenas which grow in difficulty as they are unlocked. Bastion is an experience of the sadness and dread of a post-apocalypse, and the hope that comes from the still clinging onto life through survival. Everything is told through an amazing narration that goes through the entire game to tie it all in one nice, lovely bow. Also, check out Supergiant Games' other games. They made so many other good ones, but play them all! Alright, yeah, keep that in, please.
This game feels like a sleeper hit. Then again, most indie games feel like sleeper hits, but this one is severely criminally underrated. Imagine taking the classic Ninja Gaiden games and removing the, and pardon my language for this, bullshit death mechanics, and make the controls tight as all hell. All these combined are the basic gaming components of the Messenger. This game feels like a modern throwback to the classic NES and Sega Genesis Ninja Gaiden games. A lot of the DNA comes from both Ninja Gaiden, as said before, and Shinobi of all things. Though this game doesn't have you fighting Spider-Man and Batman, it takes the Ninja Gaiden route and has you facing off against a demon lord and his nasty batch of minions for the fate of humanity. You are tasked to take a scroll to the east by a prophetic warrior, and in doing so, platforming your way across multiple beautiful, as they are dangerous, environments that never get old. One of the coolest things about this game is that there's a linear progression system that nets you new moves as the game progresses, allowing you to climb walls and even glide. Along the adventure, you encounter giant green sigils called Power Seals, and if you get them all, you earn an even better reward that I'm not going to tell you about because no spoilers in this one. The game isn't even over after you finish the initial quest, as there is an after game where you have to search the world Metroidvania style in 16-bit graphics as another quest. The Messenger even has a bopping soundtrack. Shoutouts to Bamboo Boogaloo and Quill Shroom Nightmare as some of the standout tracks. The linear progression system also allows for a purchasable upgrade system to enhance yourself as you play and collect time shards. Speaking of the shop and time shards, what's a game without NPCs? The sassy yet knowledgeable shopkeeper is both your upgrade handler and essentially your mentor for the adventure, who has a lot of stories to tell. She's also only one of the cantankerous cast of the characters you meet throughout the game. There's also Quarble, the sort of sidekick and the guy who saves your life, who has a snark streak and is frightened by every single boss in the game. He's also technically your punishment system for dying, as he steals your time shards until he deems your debt paid or just gets genuinely bored. There's also the Workout Ogre Brothers and the Order of the Blue Robes, who round out some of the more important characters in the cast. The game also has DLC too. Free DLC, which takes place on a tropical island with a brand new set of collectibles, which unlock a new playstyle. Seriously, give this game a shot. It needs more love. The devs are currently making a prequel game called Sea of Stars and are running an ARG about the lore. These guys are seriously invested, and I really love the passion behind this game. Sabotage, I salute you!
This game legitimately makes me happy. Hat in Time is an amazing 3D platformer that is such a joy to play. Hat Kid, the adorable protagonist, is on a hunt for her missing timepieces, which are the fuel of her spaceship. Yes, she's an alien. And with my tracker with aliens, she's not one to rip your face off. Anyway, her quest for timepieces brings her all over a colorful and unique world. One exception, but I'll get to that one later. Along the way, she meets an insane group of wacky characters typical for a 3D platformer, with one exception as well. Be the performances are to your liking or not, this is a cool instance of an indie game having voice actors, and I personally think voices help personify the character too. One of my favorites, the conductor, would be nothing without his voice. Moving on, the worlds that the game takes place in are extremely beautiful and stylized, and are really fun to explore. The first level, Mafia Town, is a great introduction to this game, with a nice musical riff that fits the environment, and with fun little interactions between Hat Kid and the other characters. The Yakuza Metro in particular really shows how focused and stylized locations in the game can be. There are even secret bonus levels to test your platforming and collecting skills, some of which are really inspired by the secret levels in Super Mario Sunshine. Each one has its own timepiece, and in the flashback ones, you can unlock little backstory slideshows if you find a bunch of comic pages in them. The only exception to this design philosophy is the final vanilla world, Alpine Skylines, which is very boring in both the story department and the level design department, and feels kinda tacked on. The interesting thing about this game, it has a whole slew of cut content that is very interesting to peek through. A lot of things were changed, especially story beats in some areas, and whole worlds in general. The original penultimate level was going to be called Sands and Sails and be set in a desert environment, but got cut because they couldn't come up with a solid idea. Ironically, the same year, Mario Odyssey dropped and features a huge, interesting desert level. Seriously though, a lot of cut characters and models still exist and are used to an extent in the game, featured in a horror-themed location. Other cut details include a third character to the subcon forest called the Moon Jumper, who seemed to have more involvement with the original story idea. Even without cut content, A Hat in Time is an amazing game. It's just very fun. The PC port even has a heavy modding community, which gives almost limitless options to play, and the DLC that was added brought in a couple of beautiful worlds in and of themselves to the table, and some addicting extra challenges to complete as well. This is all topped off with other little fun things like text adventure games in one of the ship's side rooms, and even customization for Hat Kid, down to palette, weapons, hat styles, and sticker placements. You can even bring a friend along for the adventure in co-op, or open the floodgates for 50 randoms to join the party as well. A Hat in Time is just pure joy, and I'm glad to experience this game. Here's to a sequel.
Sonic, eat your heart out. Make way for Sash Lilac and her fantastic friends. Freedom Planet is the perfect successor to the Sonic Advance games, featuring unique characters, unique playstyles and attacks, great level design, a cool story and villain, and some epic music. Seriously, this game is outstanding from what was originally conceived as a Sonic fan game. The story is quite simple, but it's played straight for the most part. And however, like all good games, it does have its flaws. Freedom Planet can get hard in some of the later levels, and those bosses just feel like major damage sponges. Even so, you'll have a good time exploring the levels. There's not much in lasting collectibles, but just finding stuff feels and sounds amazing. Each of the 3 playable characters have their own unique playstyle. Sash being the more speedy character with a boost attack and a quick hair whip, Carol being the fighter having better attacks and okay speed, but if she picks up a gas can for her motorcycle, she'll give herself a speed boost and a new quick multi-attack. And last but not certainly least, there's Mila. This is an interesting one. She can hover and produce a short beam of energy, along with a cube that she can either use or to empower her beam attack. But she's also the least speedy of the 3. Fun fact, the character Torque was going to be playable at some point, and was even going to use a Mega Man style power-up system. There's even minor branching paths in the levels depending on who you play as. Even the levels have some unique mechanics, such as running away from a police vessel or hopping between airships to destroy them. And once again, that soundtrack is killer! From the first stage, Dragon Valley, to Jade Creek, to Battle Glacier and the boss themes, this music just flows well and hits the aesthetic perfectly. Freedom Planet is an exquisite game with a just as awesome sequel.
Be who you want to be.
Hey you! You like surfing the web? You like trolling TED forums? Would you wish to surf the web all while having a good night's sleep? With Hypnospace, all of that is possible with Merchantsoft's patented sleep time technology. You can do all of these things. Seriously though, if you ever wanted to experience the olden days of the internet, Hypnospace Outlaw has you covered. The game is essentially an emulation, in air quotes, / simulation, in air quotes, of classic web browsing and internet surfing. You play as an enforcer for Merchantsoft, the company that created Hypnospace, and essentially have to moderate all of the, air quotes, zones that make up the Hypnospace platform. I know, you're readying your Discord mod memes, but hear me out. This game is basically a safe alternative to being a moderator. Don't get me wrong, it's fun to actually enforce the law of Hypnospace, especially when you see the in-game characters freak out after you delete something precious to them that breaks the laws, pissing off boomers and angsty teens in the process. But in a weird way, it's an interesting look into the characters that make up the citizens of the platform. Here's the thing about being an enforcer. You cannot communicate with anyone in real time. It's both a plot point and an in-game function of the Enforcer version of the OS to not be allowed to use chat apps in Hypnospace to create this sort of above-the-system thing. In that manner, it starts a ton of drama between the citizens in some cases, or worsens it by fanning the flames of other drama that happens in the game. Even seemingly innocent individuals get swept up into a lot of these, and in some ways it's kinda sad. Hypnospace allows you to genuinely feel a plethora of emotions as you play, and it does make you wonder if you are legitimately doing the right thing when enforcing the rules. It even makes you play detective in some cases, piecing things together and solving puzzles for yourself, with little hints to help you. Things that are seemingly negligible on your first day might end up being very important later in the game, and it's up to you to figure this stuff out. Even with all that, the game is just hilarious. It's fun to read about the weird shit the characters have on their pages, or just finding random stuff at complete random. You'll have a good laugh. Once again, the soundtrack is just amazing. Even though some of it's not my cup of tea, it just sounds natural. Some of it was even done by a musician on YouTube called Hot Dad, who plays a character in the game called the Chowderman, who's an old, washed-out musician. It just adds on to the world. Other than the music, you can even download browser-based pets and browser games. You can even customize your browser to your liking. You have full control. And the best part of being an enforcer, you have a little digital assistant to aid you. Meet Hippie, your little helper who is voiced by your computer's voice synthesis software. How are you doing, Hippie?
Hello there, Merrick. The PPPOOPOO man is outside your house. Run away as fast as you can. Lol.
Okay, see you later, Hippie.
Wait, don't go. I just booted up. No.
Such a kidder. Anyway, Hypnospace Outlaw is an extremely fun time. More so than it has every right to be. It's a shame that it seems a lot of people forgot about this game so quickly. It recently got a content update of all things, and a final big content and story update is also on its way as well. This game makes me hyped for more games by Jay Tholen. Okay, you can say I'm hyped for Hypno Space.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Okay, I'll stop now. Seriously though, check this game out. It deserves more love.
What happens when you take theoretical physics, combine it with Metroid, and throw in a bit of the Fermi paradox for good measure? You get the sleeper indie game Axiom Verge. It's hard to begin with Axiom Verge as most of the game's plot is up in the air, but all I can say for certain is, you play as a scientist named Trace who's trapped on an alien world called Sudra and can't return home until a giant cosmic storm that's encircling the planet called the Breach is destroyed. All the while he receives help from the last remnants of the civilization that lived on Sudra called the Rizalki, which are gigantic techno-organic supercomputers. All the while, Trace's efforts are opposed by the mysterious forces of Actatos, another human who arrived on Sudra before Trace. That's all I can share before delving into theories and major spoilers. But speaking of theories and spoilers, the game is extremely lore-heavy to the point that there are multiple different languages that need to be translated with cheat codes. Fun fact about those cheat codes, you need to find them in order to collect some of the secrets which are natural to a Metroidvania game. Speaking of secrets, most, if not all, of the weapons in this game are completely optional, and are often hidden in secret areas. The arsenal, by the way, is amazing in general. You can get weapons such as the laser grill, glitch bombs, a rapid-fire ice shard gun, a lightning gun, a weaponized sticky hand, and a laser blaster that completely fills a room, to name some of the highlights. The game is so obsessed with secrets that there are even secret worlds based on the strange world glitches from other Metroid titles. There's even a chance for one of 3 super secret weapons to appear per playthrough, which show up in random places if you look hard enough. When you have a lot of unique weapons, there's gotta be some epic bosses to use them on, and boy oh boy do these things have a lot to fight. They are very tactical to fight as well, some of which are very easy kill methods if you're skilled or lucky enough to find them, or you can just cheat and look it up, but I'm not gonna judge. For a game about the theoretical physics, there's a lot of combat over physics puzzles. Then again, it is theoretical, so maybe that's where the glitch equipment comes in. Either way, this game is amazing and made by a single dude. There is once again a sequel in the works with an energy boomerang as one of the weapons. Oh boy, this game is gonna be cool. Check out this game when you get the chance to take a look at the sequel too. I'm sure it'll be a pleasant experience.
Hey guys, Gert Ziegler here again. Now that we looked through numbers 10 through 2, let's look at our honorable mentions before we hit our number 1. So take it away, Merrick.
Undertale. Someone's gonna be out for blood. I joke. Undertale is an amazing subversion of role-playing games, with a lot of weird lore and funny-ass characters. I can assure you though, if Deltarune was finished, that would have probably been a formal number on this list with how good that demo was.
Stardew Valley, a farming simulator that is way more than meets the eye. You can definitely call this game a transformer.
Don't Starve and Don't Starve Together, a pair of survival games that are heavily stylized and grimdark as ever. I love the big multiplayer, and the DLC's pretty good too.
Skullgirls and them's fight nerds. Two amazing stylized fighting games that just make me happy and are great time sinks when you can't come up with anything to play. Also, really cool communities behind them too.
Anodyne 2, one of the raddest indie games I've ever played. It has a really great design aesthetic, taking the low poly 3D from PS1 games for the overworld section, and top-down Zelda-style gameplay for the dungeon world. It even has a more understandable and deeper story than the first game. So, Anodyne 2, you get my salute.
Shantae. I love the Shantae games, and I could talk a whole lot about them if given the chance. The problem is, they kinda skirt that thin line between indie and not because of the original's publishing deal with Capcom, but either way, great series. They all have teeny tiny flaws, but what game doesn't? Hey, make way for that half-genie hero. Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. Once again, this game is so quality that it's literally a Castlevania game without the name. Hell, Koji Igarashi designed the damn game, so that's a no-brain answer. Even so, another amazing game.
Bros, kicking ass for justice and for liberty, for freedom and the flag. They're the final stand, the last stand of heroes who fight terror with no remorse.
Full force!
I played this game at a time when I needed it the most. When I first played Night in the Woods, I felt lost. It was later when I was understanding myself that this game's lessons came back to me. It was because of this game that I've fought my way out of a depressive rut and helped me live my best life. Night in the Woods is a game about life and all of its ups and downs. The biggest picture of the message the game brings is to try and help you understand yourself through the characters. The strange thing about the characters being all animals is that everyone feels human. Relationships feel natural, and it's just very beautiful to see. The plot of Night in the Woods is about a cat named May who dropped out of college and is returning home to try to reintegrate there. Along the way, she meets old friends and makes some new friends as her group tries to uncover a mystery that leads to a murder and kidnappings. If I told you any more about the plot, it would be very heavy spoilers, and this is a game I highly recommend you check out for yourself. This game could be considered a walking sim, but it has little bits and mini-games in between segments. Even secrets to uncover, as May fills her journal with all sorts of cool images and other things. There's even an addictive yet challenging minigame to play on May's laptop. Despite the little minigame and gameplay bits, your main method of play is walking around and talking to people, and to just generally immerse yourself in the town of Possum Springs, seeing everything change. Alongside May's friends Greg, Bee, and Angus, who all have interesting and unfortunate upbringings. The whole message of Everything Changes is important to the setting, but there's an underlying feeling of keeping those who support you close to your heart, and to appreciate your friends for being there for each other, and understanding everyone's goals and support. This game will help you appreciate the small victories in life, to a greater degree, and that is why Night in the Woods is my favorite indie game. It helped me understand who was really there for me, and pushed me to be more like myself than ever. Thank you guys for everything.
Number 8, Castle Crashers.
Well, you see, I wouldn't have said it if it wasn't number 9.
But I thought it was number 15.
Number 7, Bastion.
Merrick, your fucking script sometimes, man.
That actually did feel a little bit messed up. My tongue got fucking tied there. I'm sorry.
Even so, Peak Night is the best night to with.
You're gonna have to edit at that part of
Some really cool ones. Where was that? Okay.